From training with one of the best striking coaches to sparring 300 times with a fellow fighter, Kamaru Usman is busy preparing super hard for one of the most anticipated fights of the year. And that's not surprising, since the Nigerian Nightmare's looking to bounce back. His last fight was devastating. He faced his second ever loss when Leon Edwards defeated him at UFC 278. Kamaru was well on his way to another glorious victory before a life and title-changing head kick knocked him to the ground.
A moral victory for Leon Edwards.
But that is not the cloth from which he is cut. I mean, that is a dejected...
There it is.
And now he has to step back into the octagon against Edwards on the 19th of March to bring their trilogy to a close. Not to mention that the winner is taking home the coveted welterweight title. With all this in mind, the fighters are training hard and strong. They know the stakes this bout holds. Usman particularly has to take his title back from the Brit. He'll be looking to assert his dominance. And to do that, he's training a lot. Throughout his career, Usman's trained in many gyms with amazing coaches. He started training under Henry Hooft at the Kill Cliff FC. Since then, he's had to focus on his weaknesses, forcing him to work under different coaches, especially to improve his striking. So who's he training with now? With the man himself, Trevor Whitman. In 2020, the Nigerian left his original gym. He moved on from the guidance of Hooft to train under striking coaches. Whitman is well known and deemed influential for developing talented figures in UFC. I mean, just look at guys like Justin Gaethje and Rose Namajunas. The gym's in Colorado State, but it's not your typical gym. He only trains selected fighters, preparing them for certain fights. So Gaethje, Usman, and Namajunas are a few to name. And now that Usman's training under this coach, he's been involved with other fighters. The Nigerian Nightmare trained with UFC lightweight contender Michael Chandler. The pair were even seen engaged in a grappling session together. And he sparred with Burns at least 300 times, as reports suggest. In 2021, many MMA-based outlets declared Usman as the fighter of the year. After working under Whitman, Usman defeated Burns in a bout too, so he's definitely getting stronger and better as the years go by. The only hindrance in his career has been Edwards, and revenge is a brilliant motivator, but so is working with Gaethje. That's why Kamaru was working out with him in New Eltham. Justin was easily one of the best fighters working under the coach until Usman came around. The Nigerian posted a few pictures on his Twitter of the pair in a training session with the caption, "As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another." The American fighter has been known to train with Usman before too. One of the more obvious reasons is that they share the same head coach. Usman's lack of striking and kicking abilities is what cost him his title, and it's a general point of view that if he wants to win it back, he needs to improve in certain areas. Being knocked out cold is no easy thing to recover from, so the confidence that he'll gain from constant sparring and practice might lead him to being victorious. Many believe that his striking has improved remarkably, but let's be real, it was never too bad, and he showed that off in both the rematch with Jorge Masvidal and the fight with Gilbert Burns. And it's only gotten better, but this sort of motivation doesn't come easy. Recovering from a loss that heavily requires focus and practice. In fact, Khabib Nurmagomedov, a good friend of Usman, doesn't think his friend will ever be the same after that defeat, but he highlighted the fact that he's still a brilliant fighter and will overcome Edwards in the bout. Usman has been a high-level athlete for a very long time, and he'll put up a strong front and fight, regardless of how many times he's knocked down. So, what is his favorite training routine that allows him to be elite? If you want to know, don't worry, because I've got you covered. The Nigerian Nightmares shared his routine with Men's Health. He gets a daily workout in at the gym. It does go down to twice or thrice a week when there's no fight schedule. When asked about the type of training he prefers, Usman has an obvious and favorite choice. He's all for the functional movements that can be applied inside the cage. Kamaru gave a very elaborate example of the results of his training. The former welterweight champ said that when he grabs someone, it feels as though a gorilla has done it. It does explain his fierce techniques in the bouts, and it allows him to be dominant and win the majority of his fights. Bear in mind that this fighter is tied with another for the longest winning streak in the history of the UFC. The only reason he's tied is that he lost to Edwards. So it'd be stupid to underestimate how hard Usman works and how hard he makes it for his opponents to secure a victory over him. Even though Kamaru works super hard, there's one thing everyone always hates, no matter what. And for Usman, that's squats. Honestly, same. But over the years, he's learned to love it, especially when he sees the benefits of it in fights. Though his training has not been without some difficulties. In fact, there's been one massive obstacle in his training path, and it might even affect his upcoming fight. Usman is recovering from an injury.
Yeah, the hand is not wrapped. Surgery went well, and based on kind of the magnitude of the injury, which I didn't even realize at the time, I just felt like I knew something was wrong. They're telling me it's going to take some time. I got to give it the time and not rush it because, of course, I want to be in the gym. I was in the gym today trying to do whatever I could. I want to be back as soon as possible.
But in the MMA world, the damage of a small injury is usually ignored, though it makes all the difference in reality. And in an aggressive and physical sport like MMA, it has to be taken under consideration even more. Usman had surgery to repair the damage to his right hand. It's said by professionals that he's had less time to prep for this bout, and even less when compared with Edwards. The Nigerian was seen with a cast on his hand just a couple of months ago, so he was still recovering up till recently, and that could hinder his progress, but he looks confident and sharp. Even though recovering from such an injury can be hard, or at the very least annoying, and on the path to recovery, maintaining a good nurturing diet is what makes all the difference. The body that's working that hard has to be fueled the right way. So what does his diet look like? Usman said that the largest portion of his diet is something essential to the human body: water. He showed off his organized fridge. It gave major TikTok ASMR stalking vibes. Then he explained that he has eggs with spinach 4 times a week.
My diet mainly consists of water, most importantly, at least 4 times a week. I have to get in some eggs, and I'll mix in the spinach in there, some type of fruit at some point later on in the day.
Fruit is a good snack he has later at some point in the day. They can be apples, blackberries, blueberries, and more. He mixes and matches. On fight days, though, he keeps it light and simple, starting the day with a good omelet, and of course, avocado's a part of it too. After all, fighters like him need good fat, protein, and carbs. So with that in mind, he also has wheat toast or a croissant. Later in the day, Kamaru has something that fuels him for the fight. He usually gets some type of pasta. Usman's not into the white sauce because it's going to be milky and all, but the red sauce one is his favorite for such days. It's light on the body and can be absorbed as fast as possible. I hope the diet continues to work its wonders because Kamaru is facing a ton of pressure for his upcoming bout. He has to win back his respect, his title, and his dominance. The Nigerian Nightmare ruled the wrestling world and then shifted to MMA and took it by storm. Edwards has a different Usman coming for him this time around. Whether that difference is good or bad, only time will tell. That's all on how Kamaru Usman is preparing for Leon Edwards at UFC 286.